Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Serial Gaming here. Before we dive into today's video, if you like my content today, do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like on the video itself. It does help the video. And of course, if you want to further support my channel, there's a join button there to join my membership to actually have some benefits and some stickers as well. You will get a badge right next to your name and you can use some stickers that are exclusive to my YouTube channel. So yeah. Anyway, moving on from there, we'll be talking about the next banner, which will feature 4 characters, one of them being Realm, which I already discussed previously. So if you like to check on Realm, you can click on the link in my description below, which I will link to it. I will be talking about the other 3 instead in this video, which will be Galuf, Vincent, and Sephiroth. And starting off, we're going to be talking about the LD only character, which is Galuf. Galuf basically only get a rework on his skill 2 and his LD, not his skill 1. His skill 2 now does have extra 5 usage and it's a 3 single target HP attack. The counter from his skill 2 is still a single target HP attack, except with higher potency and bravery attacks right now. So it's not really a significant increase, but it does increase his longevity given that now it has 5 additional usage. And as for his LD, with the LD rework, he now gets his LD buff, which is 6 turn at quest start. So given that he has 2 turns, so it's giving you an option to not click the LD right away. But honestly, because you want to get the cover and everything going up to the maximum level, it might be better for you to just click it, since the longevity of his LD buff is not really an issue. Anyway, it also improved the LD buff with now a 20% party HP damage up, which is nice. It now does a 4 split AoE HP attack, and the LD counter will now do a 3 single target HP attack. So like I said, Galuf actually doesn't have a lot of rework, but those reworks actually provides a good deal of HP damage in his utility. His Crystal level 90 increased his EX to a 4 single target HP attack and now 20% splash on each HP attack. So finally his EX has some AoE damage. Anyway, it also improved his EX buff, which now provides a 20% self bravery and HP damage up, as well as a 30% party HP damage resist up. A little bit mix and match over here, but I don't think it's a huge issue. Alright, so his additional ability with the Crystal level 90 upgrade now extended up to 13 turns, and it does a 20% party stolen overflow, attack and brave damage cap up. So Galuf's only issue in my opinion is always the potential of having a very low amount of bravery attack. Despite all this buff that seems quite good, he doesn't actually have a good deal of bravery damage. He requires a significant amount of bravery auras to improve his bravery attack. But right now, the fact that there's brave gain in between his attack, it helps a lot for him to do the maximum amount of counter damage. So that itself is very helpful. In my opinion, Galuf is still a very strong, very powerful character, even later down the line during the FR era, where the off-turn units are going to be the ever-changing meta that we'll be getting later down the line to fully exploit the FR charge percentage. He'll work exceptionally well with one certain character, which is Redia, because of Redia's FR condition, but I'll be talking about that next time. Just so for the understanding, Galuf's only issue, like I said, is that he doesn't have a very good amount of bravery attack potency. His protection, although it does extend to the entire party, but his protection works better when the enemy does single target damage instead of AoE attack. Alright, so moving on from Galuf, we'll be having Sephiroth with his BT plus and his rework, as well as his Crystal level 90. So Sephiroth's skill 1 now does now have 2 additional usage, and it does a 2 full AoE HP attack followed by a 2 single target HP attack. As for his skill 2, it now adds 4 additional usage to his skill 2, and it does a 7 single target HP attack with a 50% splash on the last HP attack. So a whole lot of upgrades on the amount of HP attack he can deal. 4 HP attack on the first skill and 7 on the second skill, which is a lot really. for base skill upgrade. His LD now does a 5 split AoE HP attack, and the LD also have a LD buff upgrade which now add 20% HP damage up to himself. So like I said, the rework doesn't exactly change how he works, but actually provides more HP damage from his original attack. The EX, however, with the Crystal level 90 actually does a very weird upgrade. Instead of his EX being fully gravity on his previous variation, it now instant break all of the enemy instead, and does a 5 full AoE HP attack. So the amount of HP attack is nice, but instant break is actually questionable. I mean, it's very suitable for his BT effect, I guess, because his BT effect, for those who never used Sephiroth before, his BT allows him to set the enemy's bravery to 1 at an unbroken level after every action. So previously his EX cannot break the enemy, so it's not really that compatible with his BT effect. But right now it is compatible right now, but the mere fact that sometimes you just want to have a different utility for his EX might be less right now. Less variety in that sense. Anyway, his additional ability with the Crystal level 90 upgrade now has been extended up to 6 turn, and it does a 50% self attack up, 20% self max bravery up, and 40% self brave damage cap up. His BT effect, like I mentioned before, it sets all the enemy braveries to 1 after every action, and weirdly it doesn't come with any auras, but with the BT plus it now does a 100% party attack up and a 50% brave damage cap and brave gain up. Although honestly, if you're using Sephiroth, you still just want to use him for that particular BT effect itself, that unique one. But one good thing about Sephiroth is that he has a lot of brave gain in between his HP dumps, so he actually can cap his HP attack relatively easy. And the fact that he has this many amount of his HP attack in his skill 2 itself is actually making him a lot more usable than what you expect. His capability as a damage dealer actually can be quite similar with Prish, to be honest, although his LD doesn't does as much damage as she can, but his skill 2 being 7 single target HP attack is just very, very powerful for a base skill attack. So I think they are quite similar, and his BT effect is a little bit more party friendly, with the fact that you can have more utility instead of just dealing more damage in your party itself. Considering that he's the damage dealer, you want to fully capitalize his damage with a supportive character that can provide more utility to the party. So yep, I think personally Sephiroth has a lot of wall combos in the future. One of the more famous one would be Dragon. Yeah, I think it's Dragon. Yeah, because Dragon actually counters every time he breaks an enemy or every time the party breaks an enemy. So with Sephiroth constantly setting the enemy back into unbroken state, it actually helps Dragon to have more of his counter to the team itself. There are also a lot of units that actually benefits from Sephiroth's BT effect. For example, Cloud of Darkness, which I previously actually talked about, but provided that Cloud of Darkness doesn't have her BT effect, because every time she breaks an enemy, she'll jump turns. So if you're actually using her BT, you don't want her to jump too much turn because you want the BT effect to last longer. So aside from that itself, Cloud of Darkness actually gain 2 stacks after breaking the enemy, so that actually helps help Cloud of Darkness gain her overhead stacks up to 5 stacks a lot easier with Sephiroth in the party. And of course the infamous Yida Sephiroth combo, where you can just spam Yida's HP plus attack to fully utilize the turn hogging stage for Yida to perform the highest amount of damage. I wouldn't say the highest amount of damage, but more like the cheese method, where it will work even during Shinyu's era, especially during Shinyu's era, because the orb condition is no longer an issue. So as long as you can finish the stage within the turn count with Yida, the Yida Roth combo is definitely still very viable. And honestly, the only reason I think Sephiroth may not be as good as other units that you want to focus on saving is that he has no FR bot at the current moment, and he won't be getting it until later down the line. So having no FR board means that you won't run him as regular if you want to charge your FR gauge faster. So that might be a side effect of running Sephiroth, but that also applies to the next character we're talking about, which is gonna be Vincent. So unlike the one in JP, Vincent already has his LD release in global, hence why the swap of the banner itself, hence why I suspect Realms ain't gonna be in this banner because she's gonna be the new character for us global players instead of Vincent. But Vincent does get some rework as well, and his LD board like finally. So his skill 1 plus, which I'm gonna just talk about the plus version because the plus version will be available when Vincent is targeting enemies with at least 3 debuff. So with Vincent being a constant debuffer, it's not actually very hard to achieve that condition. So his skill 1 plus now have additional 4 usage, and it does a 3 single target fire HP attack with a 50% splash and provide Vincent with fire enchant and imperil to the entire enemy. His skill 2 plus does a 3 thunder single target HP attack also with 50% splash, but it enchants Vincent with Thunder Elemental and imperil the entire enemy as well. So clicking between his skill 1 and skill 2 just entirely depends on what elemental are you going for and what debuff do you want to land with. If I recall, the skill 1 lands the initial bravery down debuff and the skill 2 lands the attack down debuff. Okay, so with his LD board, Vincent's LD now does a 4 full AoE HP attack and inflict both fire and thunder imperil. It also upgrades his overhead buff with now providing him a 20% HP damage up and extend every inflicted debuff by Vincent by 2 turns. It also improves his LD follow-up, like obviously, because now he does a 3 single target HP attack when he hits debuff enemies. So that's really good upgrade for Vincent right there, because combining with his skill 1 and his skill 2, his basic attack can actually land 6 single target HP attack with 50% splash on his 3rd attack, so that is actually pretty good. His EX with the Crystal Level 90 upgrade now does a 4 single target HP attack with 50% splash on each HP attack. It extends his EX debuff right now to 6 turn, and he gained free skill on the next turn, which is really good as well because improve his longevity. Although to be honest, the free skill is more likely to be because they want to extend his skill usage during his burst phase. Anyway, the additional ability of Vincent now extend up to 7 turns and extend the inflicted debuff by Vincent again for another 2 turns. So with this additional ability active and his LD upgrade, he now extends all inflicted debuff by 4 turns in total. It also provides him a 10% self-stolen overflow up and a 20% party attack and self-bravery damage cap up. So a whole lot of mixture in between party and self auras right here, but really that's not too big of a problem. His new BT effect actually lasts for 10 turns, which is insane really, but the effect itself is not as potent as you might think it might be. It does a 50% attack, max bravery, defense and speed down to all of the enemy, and it does a 30% brave damage resist down to all of the enemy as well, and lastly a 20% HP damage resist down to all enemies. But the best part about his BT is the fact that while the BT buff or BT effect is active, the enemies cannot receive any single buff. So basically it's like Yuffie's EX and Aerith LD effect, but it comes in the form of his auras. So that's actually pretty insane, honestly, because it's not every day you can get this kind of utility. So having it, to be honest, it's actually really welcoming. With his BT plus though, it now adds a 10% additional on his HP damage resist down to the entire enemy, which total up to 30%. And it also provides a 30% party brave damage cap up. So like I said, a little weird where this last buff right here comes in the form of an aura, but I can understand where they're coming from, because to improve the cap, you can only rely on buff instead of debuff. But anyway, Vincent, although the last part where the party brave damage cap up is pretty nice, it still doesn't change the fact that he doesn't have any HP damage cap up. And his armor, while have some selfish high armor coming on later down the line with you upgrading into a blue armor, but the starting is still more of a debuff armor where it lowers the stats of the enemy itself. And Vincent actually is very reliant on his debuff, so stages where debuff is not as easily applied, or where the boss cleanse a lot in the stage itself, may have a problem with Vincent's in the party, because although Vincent's debuff itself is not as good as other characters, his LD actually requires him to have a debuff on the enemies to be able to land his follow-up attack. So that might be a problem, like I said, if the enemies cleanse a lot. Other than that, Vincent is just one of your regular damage dealer, single target damage dealer mostly, which have some utility in his kit and actually has a very good attack down debuff overall. I'm not sure though how potent attack down debuff will be in Shinyu's era, but definitely his attack down was one of the best previously. And like I said, Vincent also has the issue of being the last BT characters before an FR era, which means that you won't be getting his FR board anytime soon. So that might be one of the things you want to consider if you want to BT plus him, or even pulling too hard on his kit. Whether or not he's very party friendly, I won't say he is. Surprisingly for this banner, the best character out of all 4 characters in my opinion is the character that gets the least amount of reworks, which is Galuf. The fact that he provides such good damage and tank capability at the same time is just really good, makes him one of the best, and his tanking capability actually comes in the form of evasion, which it's gonna sucks in stages that have guaranteed hits, but he's still really good. And the fact that he cannot be killed while his LD buff is active except by orb, which is really insane. Really, it just makes him into one of the best character in the game, even in the future. So Galuf is definitely my recommendation, whether or not you're a veteran or you're a new player. New player especially will be really good with Galuf, because he just helps tanks out all the all the stages, as long as he doesn't die from the orb. If you have Galuf, however, then the Sephiroth Galuf banner won't be as attractive. Like I said, Sephiroth is good, but the problems lies with him being just a damage dealer. But his BT does open up to several options of utility in the future, although you might want to reconsider, because you would be spending a large amount of investment on the characters if you're doing that. I myself personally gonna just BT plus Sephiroth. I've been waiting to do that since Dragon's FR, so I want to play with that combo in my main account, so that is the BT plus I'm going for. As for my alternate, I will be going for Vincent, so like route B in this situation. Although I do want to pull for for Realm in my main account, so I might be throwing some tickets regardless for my main account as well to get Realm. I like Realm, but I don't recommend having them at all at this current stage of the game, because of the fact that we're approaching FR era. If you want to abuse more of the FR system, then Realm is definitely not for you, because she's gonna take up a lot of turns, and she's more of a non-FR kind of team comp. So it depends on what you really want, really. Personally, I just want to have fun with her, and I definitely think this banner is less worthwhile with the fact that it's one of the last banner to be featured before the FR era, since they will not be getting their FR board anytime soon. And FR board, trust me, it's just gonna make a huge difference having them and not having them at all. Although I do argue that it's not completely necessary, because even right now in JP, my Galuf doesn't have his FR board, and I still can run him in several stages. But I'm just gonna emphasize the fact that having FR board is just gonna make my life easier. Galuf does get his FR board later down the line, but just not anytime soon. Of course, this applies not just to this banner, but any banner the next two banner as well, which is the H banner and the King banner. The FR board will not be released for them anytime soon, seeing that they get their LD and their new weapons this late into the into the Lufenia Plus era. So yeah, definitely want to take that into your consideration. Anyway guys, thank you again for watching. It's been quite a long video. I think I did a 20 minutes recording right here. So I would leave it just here today. I have an idea about a video I will be making for tomorrow, and I hope you guys can just enjoy it as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers guys.